Welcome to Kenpo University. My name's Al Babinick and I'm your instructor. I got a question the other day and it was an amazing question. It's, can you be a high rank in any martial art and not do the forms, know the forms, or practice the forms at all? And that is a great question. I could probably talk for literally a couple hours on the pros and cons. Even if you don't do Kenpo, if you're not a Kenpo person, there's an amazing amount of information in your forms if you look for it, okay? Most of the time, people just show us the moves. Here, do this move, do this move, do this move. But there's a ton of information backing all that up, okay? So if you don't do the forms, usually you're missing a decent part of your system, okay? When you're doing a kata, every time you turn to the side or turn behind you, the guy was not in front. So if you're in Kenpo or if you're in another system, I started in Taekwondo years ago, and the attacks always came at us from the front. A lot of the attacks in Kenpo come from the front, but we have some flanks and some darkness techniques and stuff like that. But when you're doing the katas, every time you turn to the left or you turn to the right, that means that's where the attacker was. So you're learning how to fight multiple opponents when you're learning the footwork, the transitional footwork going from one technique to another. When you're doing all that transitional footwork, you're learning how to fight multiple opponents. So even if I was doing short one, I step back, block, I'm facing you. If I have to turn, it means the guy is coming at me from my left flank. He's coming at me from over here, so as I turn to face him and do my vertical outward block, that's where we're learning how to fight more than one person at a time. And it makes, if I'm standing here, I'm going to do a video on all the katas one of these days, but if I was standing here and somebody's trying to hit me in the jaw, if I step that way into the corner, I'm creating distance, I'm off angling. So if the guy was aiming here, he doesn't know I'm going that way. So, and my block takes over where my face was, pretty much, okay? If I started stepping into it this way, I'm stepping into punches, and that's not good. So when you look at the transitional footwork, turning to the left, turning to the right, turning around, or to one of the corners, one of the different angles of attack or defense that you're going through, then it's going to show you how to fight multiple opponents, okay? Which, if you don't do the katas, you still might learn it, but are you going to learn it as well as what the katas are going to teach you and all the different variations? Maybe, maybe not. Now, you have to do the katas right. You have to know the motions correctly to be able to find stuff that's under that, okay, all the information behind the motion. So if you're not doing the motions right, you're going to run into some problems, all right? And that's where you just need a really good instructor. Now again, this is Kenpo. If you're in a different system, I can't speak for you, but in Kenpo, in the version of Kenpo karate I teach 156 techniques. In the katas, I think, I'd have to do some math, but I think it's about 60 techniques are done on the left-hand side, okay, or on the opposite side. So you're doing more than a third of the system you learn to do on the other side. So if all of a sudden you have all these left clubs coming at you, or somebody's trying to stab you with a knife in their left hand instead of their right hand, you're still going to know what to do because you've practiced it. In long four, some of the hidden moves are, you're in your horse stance. When you're going into five swords, it's actually against a kick punch, not just the roundhouse punch, okay? So if you ever say, well, what's going on down there? Why do I have to do that? It's a kick punch, not just a punch. So we added a strike to it. If you do snaking Talon, when in long 4 again, when you're doing snaking Talon, everybody just thinks it's the blue version of the technique, or I teach it at blue belt at least, the blue version of the technique where they're trying to come in and grab you. But if you really look at what you're doing in long 4, it could just be against a grab, but the maximum it could be for is as you hop off, because you're coming off of reversing circles, as you hop off, you're doing a downward, inward, and then your figure 8, and then you get your kick and hop off to the side. That's actually against kick, punch, punch, punch. So it's against a left kick, right punch, and then a left-right combination. So when you're doing the moves right, you can see that that's in there. And all of a sudden, it's not just an attempted grab anymore. There's a lot of information in here. Mr. Parker said that if you knew and understood all the information behind the moves in long 4, he would put a black belt on you. So what's that tell you? Okay? Now, a lot of people seem to think that just because they know the moves in long 4 that they deserve a black belt. No, not true. Okay? You have to understand, like I was just doing, that 5 swords is against a kick punch, and snaking Talon is against kick punch, 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 or at least it could be. There's a lot of that throughout the whole kata. Those aren't the only 2 examples. So if you knew and understood everything that was going into long 4, all the behind the moves information, he'd put a black belt on you. So that must tell you that there's some good information going on in long 4. When you're doing long 6, it actually shows you a high knife and a low knife right off the bat. So when you do glancing lance, just that one technique teaches you how, if the high knife is coming at me, I do this. If there's a low knife coming at me, I do this. All right? And in Kenpo, we only have 4 straight stabs, 2 high, 2 low, and 1 overhead. We don't have any slashing attacks, and we don't have any flank attacks or anything like that. But when you're doing long 6, you're always being attacked. Not always, I shouldn't say that, but you're being attacked a lot coming from back corners or from the side of you or off on an angle instead of straight in front, just like before. And in long 6, because it's a weapons kata, you'll learn how to take a club technique and turn it into a knife technique. Throughout the system, you can always take a higher level technique, like a gun or a knife, and turn it into a punch or a club technique or whatever. You can always go down the system, so to speak, but if you want to go up the system, long 6 teaches us how to do that. Here's my big answer. If you just want to be a fighter, no, you don't need the forms. But if you want to be a great fighter and be able to fight multiple opponents, different angles, both sides, and a whole bunch of other stuff, all the thousands of other little nuggets of information that the katas have, you want to learn the katas. And it's not just learn the moves, dissect them, think about what they could be used for, and make sure you have a good instructor that actually tells you what everything's doing. If you're doing some motion, you don't know why you're doing it. If you're doing the 3 on line in 5 and you don't understand it, ask your instructor. If you're doing long 1 and you're doing the adjustment with the elbow, drop your arm, do the upper block and then the punch, and you don't know why you're doing it, ask your instructor, okay? He or she should be able to tell you. If they're not sure or you don't have an instructor, there's a lot of people out there without instructors. If you're not sure, email me, al@kenpouniversity.com, and I'll try to help you out. Sometimes they're not short answers, but I'll try to help you out if there's a part of a kata that doesn't make sense to you, all right? And if enough people ask me about the same thing, I'll do videos on it, because I want to try to help as many people as I can. That's why I do these. So, short answer, yes, you could be a good fighter without knowing the forms. Long answer, or the caveat to that is, if you want to be a great fighter, be able to fight multiple opponents, do weapons from odd angles, do attacks coming in from odd angles, then you really want to learn those forms and learn them correctly. I hope this helped, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching this video production from Kenpo University.